It sounds so innocent when a baby actually says it.
And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein.
As a lot of people can. And a lot of people are still shocked and surprised at the maneuvers of this administration, specifically regarding the story of the decade that a lot of very powerful people want to go away. As there's a big reminder to us, well, that story still hasn't gotten away. We still haven't gotten any kind of legitimate answers here, as we are having some major shakeups inside of the White House and the FBI that just announced a new co-deputy director of the FBI here, as of course are people on the outs. Or did the internal fight between Pam Bondi and Dan Bongino end in a way where Pam Bondi got the last word here as the Ice Maiden inside of the White House, with some very interesting past ties to foreign governments, is now the one leading the charge, calling the shots here, specifically when it comes to this controversy that is involving a lot of people that clearly still are going to keep asking these questions. Now, there's a lot to look into, specifically with this replacement, with this FBI move, and now a judge ruling in favor of the cover-up that was a part of the cover-up originally here, as we have some older audio of Epstein's lawyers' victims coming out talking about how, he was directly threatened and said that Epstein was, quote, CIA, as the question should remain to the D&I chief, Tulsi Gabbard. Hey, what do you know about this situation? As there's a lot of very serious questions, and if you appreciate us as an independent media organization still at it, subscribe, click the notification button, as there is so much speculations, rumors, and crazy news happening right now, and we do our best to try to make sense of it. And if you think we do a good job at it, click the notification button. All of this, as CNN is reporting today that Pam Bondi tightens grip on Justice Department after, quote, the Epstein fallout, as they are reporting how Pam Bondi has, quote, emerged from self-exile. I saw one independent media guy asking her a question, and I was like, why didn't you ask her about the Epstein stuff? As right now, there still has been a lot of blowback over her handling of the Jeffrey Epstein files, as during a recent TP USA event, we heard that Donald Trump personally called up Charlie Kirk and said, what are you doing criticizing one of my loyalist soldiers in his administration? And it definitely does look like she was following orders, and so far has not done the criminal referrals, has not done the declassification, has not done the release of the files that were promised to us so many months ago. As now Bondi moved this week and installed a new deputy FBI director alongside Dan Bongino. Now, if you remember that whole fallout, specifically with all the people at TP USA, there was a concerted effort to blame all of this on Pam Bondi. And I was like, this is very coordinated. There was leaks from Pam Bondi's office making Bongino look bad. There was leaks from Bongino's office making Pam Bondi look bad. It was pretty clear, according to a lot of other initial sources, there was a big fight. There was a big confrontation. Allegedly, Bongino was even screaming at Pam Bondi. That's what we heard over how this whole Epstein saga was handled. And it's pretty clear this whole Epstein saga was handled poorly by everyone. Everyone lied to us. Everyone looked us right in the eyes, and they said, don't believe the evidence right in front of your own eyes and ears. Believe us. Nothing to see here. Go home, or you're a weakling. You're promoting a Democratic hoax. It's all a Barack Obama Democratic hoax. As now, a lot of people are saying this new designation of a co-deputy FBI director is highlighting how, quote, Bondi won the power struggle against Bongino. CNN also noted how she used to be a regular on Fox News, and she used to be taking questions on the White House lawn. And it looks like she had a month-long media lockdown. Now, again, she did one quick interview with one independent kind of journalist. I was looking into some of the militarization of the police that has been kind of happening in Washington, D.C. here. Now, with this saga, we have to understand here, we are finding out that Pam Bondi has had a lot of supports from, quote, Trump's Ice Maiden. This is the same Ice Maiden that was, quote, responsible, allegedly, for the blow-ups between Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Now, a lot of people saw this kind of blow-up happening here in a while, but Trump's Ice Maiden is, of course, his chief of staff, Susie Wiles. Susie Wiles, according to a lot of people, also has a lot of extensive ties to Bibi Netanyahu. As we're finding out, Attorney General Pam Bondi was able to, quote, hold onto her job despite a sandstorm of public outcry from Donald Trump's base for her to be sacked over the handling of the Jeffrey Epstein files. White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles was Bondi's, quote, biggest cheerleader amid the torrent of calls for Bondi's scout. She went to bat for the, quote, blonde Barbie with nerves of steel in a rare on-the-record interview. She says, quote, you know, she looks like Barbie. She's blonde and beautiful. And I think people will underestimate her because of how she looks, she told New Yorker magazine, as the White House Chief of Staff added, but she's got nerves of steel, and she has stood up to some of the most withering situations with a fair amount of grace. Now, this Ice Maiden, quote, is also working behind the scenes, according to the Daily Mail, to install cold, hard discipline and fierce loyalty, as we also heard a lot of people being fired for bringing up the backlash against this Jeffrey Epstein saga. As people are saying, it was probably Susie that did that. Now, before getting into that and this latest kind of intel revelation, we wanted to tell you about wearechange.shop. We got a lot of great supplements available to you on our shop. We also have teas. We also have some very facetious type of yard signs, hats, and bundles. These bundles are the best for you. They're very quick and effective ways just to get a bunch of the supplements at a premium discount, as we have the Vitality Immunity Bundle, filled with magnesium glycinate, essential fatty, vitamin C, as you save, what is it, $13 just by buying this bundle. It's worth getting, especially if you're looking into testing and getting into different supplements. Again, talk to your own medical doctor before putting anything into your own body. Do your own homework, do your own research, and try to have a more holistic approach of it. But our diet and our food has been absolutely destroyed through the likes of Bill Gates and other individuals that have created a situation where clearly our food just doesn't have the same kind of nutrients, minerals like it did before. That's why I personally supplement, and I can't recommend supplementation as well. Our food supply also poisoned. Our fish, poisoned. That's why I got essential fatty. Lots of our vegetables, if people even eat those anymore, don't have the same amounts of magnesium like they did before. Lots of our fruits also do not have the same levels of vitamin C like they did before, and that's why we got the vitamin C liposol complex that, of course, is really good when you take other food, and it's actually activated and utilized in your body, unlike a lot of the other vitamin Cs that are from China that don't really work that well at all. So we are Change Our Shop. Check out our new Vitality and Immunity Bundle, $74, and I can't recommend it enough. Now, let's get back to Ice Maiden here, as it's pretty clear here that there was an alliance that was forged and made between Susie Wiles and Pam Bondi. Now, Trump's own personal loyalty can be, quote, merciful. But now with Wiles, it has been the bulwark against Bondi's dismissal, beating back public campaigns from, quote, far right-wing personalities like Laura Loomer. Almost everyone on the right wing, all in unison, was like, fire Pam Bondi, fire Pam Bondi, fire Pam Bondi. And then Trump started to call people and say, what? We're not firing anybody. Matter of fact, you better stop this or we're going to cut access to you. And a lot of people bent to those particular pressures here. Now, Citizen.org reports how, according to new financial disclosures, Pam Bondi represented Pfizer, which represents a big conflict of interest. There's also allegations against Pam Bondi and Susie Wiles having specific lobbyists and major companies that they lobbied for and participated and allegedly worked together on representing. Now, whatever you might think of these two or their past here, it's pretty clear that this latest shakeup at the FBI probably involves a move that will see the ouster of Dan Bongino. That's what a lot of people see this as. And I think there's credibility for that and a number of reasons to see that, as there was a public blowout. And we even told everybody, hey, if Dan Bongino quits, Trump is not going to allow him to quit until this issue slowly and surely goes away. Now it's going away. CNN's reporting, no one's Google searching it anymore. Great, yay! So it's such a weird type of report. As of course, people are like celebrating the cover-up. People are like, shut up, stop talking about this. Shut up. And I'm like, that's kind of odd. That's kind of very weird behavior that you want people to shut up about this. Now, the White House named the Missouri Attorney General, Andrew Bailey, that a lot of people like. And a lot of people like because he had a lot of very pointed criticisms of the CIA and Dr. Fauci, that a lot of people are now saying this guy's going to have Dr. Fauci shaking his boot. Dr. Fauci has immunity. Dr. Fauci literally had Joe Biden save him. Now, did he save him through the auto pen with the official pardon that he gave him for all those years back, ever since the fall of Ukraine when they were working on those gene-specific biological forms of warfare? As there's a possibility. Listen, this is a big move. One, for me, the most rational explanation that this is going to be the signaling of Dan Bongino leaving. And I think the decision for Dan Bongino to leave was already made during the middle of the Epstein saga. He's not allowed to leave. They're bringing in this guy to get the kind of lay of the land here. Kash Patel was told, you better be loyal. Kash Patel released a statement on Twitter that sounded like a hostage statement once again, as these guys did some hostage statements together. But Bongino was clearly the one saying this is not acceptable, this is not okay with what's happening. And he probably was denied the ability to quit. And now people are saying they're bringing this guy in order to take his role soon. Other speculations of what's happening here, this is an alternative theory that I think is worth exercising and entertaining, because we're living in a day and age where anything and everything is possible. And that is the fact that this administration could be planning, and this is the more favorable kind of explanation for this administration, major actions, major prosecutions. Now, will that happen? Criminal referrals are already on the Pam Bondi desk. Have they been acted upon? Everything signals to no. But some people are saying, a lot of the kind of theorists out there who want to be extremely favorable to Donald Trump saying, no, something big's happening, major arrest, big things are happening, the whole swamp's going to get totally swamped. And I think that's very wishful thinking. And if I'm wrong, I will eat my words and I will publicly apologize. Absolutely, 110%. I don't mind saying this is my speculation. I don't mind being wrong. I don't mind talking about their speculation. And I hope their speculation's right. But from everything that we have seen so far, I don't think it is. I think the first explanation of Bongino being slowly pushed out is the more rational kind of explanation. What's going to actually be happening here, we're going to see in the test of time who is right and who is wrong here. Now, this is what the former Attorney General of Missouri and now the co-deputy director of the FBI that has the same position as Dan Bongino had to say about Dr. Fauci, which I thought was interesting.
Anthony Fauci playing that. We now know, based on recently declassified documents, that the CIA even believes that the COVID-19 came from a lab in China, not randomly jumping from animal life to human life at some marketplace in Wuhan. Well, wasn't Fauci helping suppress some of that information? And what was his involvement in that research and in that lab in China? And so is there civil liability there? And again, I think people still demand justice for the wrongs that were perpetrated against the American people, not only by the Chinese government, but by the deep state like Anthony Fauci. And so, I think making that transparent through an investigation and airing that, it's not a bad thing. It can only be a good thing. And there might be additional liability points beyond the criminal code.
Yeah, and listen, I hope he's going to come in there and actually take a legitimate action on that. But with the way that things are going, doesn't look like it. And listen, a lot of people are saying this is pretty big surprising. Well, Joe Martinez on Twitter says, I had 4 decades of Fed service and have never known this to happen. Is Bongino not up to the job? Unlikely, in my personal humble opinion. Or is the FBI about to get involved in something big time major? Very unusual. Popcorn ready. Yeah, very weird here, as all of this is on the backdrop of now the 3rd judge denying to unseal the Jeffrey Epstein grand jury material and records. Why is that? Well, listen, Radar Magazine has a very interesting article that they just published a couple hours ago saying Jeffrey Epstein boasted, I'm never going to be prosecuted, as former bodyguard claims the S-Predator was protected by the CIA and his, quote, close friend Donald Trump. Brad Edwards, the lawyer for the victims here, had this to say on the Tara Palmieri show.
You're messing with. And you need to be really careful. You are on Jeffrey's radar. And somebody that Jeffrey pays a lot of attention to, which is not good. You don't want to be on Jeffrey's radar. And I said, well, give me some examples. I mean, who am I messing with?
And that's when he looked across the table and whispered 3 letters. CIA. Brad was...
CIA. What a surprise there. And of course, they went on and talked about, and this is, again, the lawyer representing the victims. And there's multiple cases of a lot of big-time, powerful people getting messages, getting dead animals that were tortured on their doorsteps with messages saying, you know that expose that you're working on for Epstein, you're going to let that go. You're going to stop talking about that. Multiple threats, multiple forms of harassments, multiple private investigators, multiple big-time professional people who know how to hurt people, okay, out there, threatening, hurting, trying to stop this exposure from happening. And this is real deal stuff. There's no reason for Brad Edwards to lie. As the Tara Palmieri show now highlighted another excerpt of this lawyer of the victims that I think is also important for us to watch and listen to.
I had to do was go to Langley, to the CIA, and sit in these classes for a week with the CIA. I was the only private citizen there. At the end, the assistant director or director, I don't remember which, gave me a book with a handwritten note in it that I was told not to read and go deliver it to Jeffrey in jail. Everybody there knew who he was. He's an important person. And I said, is he in the CIA? He said, I don't know.
I'm a reporter.
Yeah, we don't know. We have no idea. Nothing to see here, folks. Go home. And again, I think these questions deserve to be answered, especially now more than ever. As, listen, the reason why the judge hasn't released a lot of the stuff here is because, one, they're probably liberal Biden or Obama-appointed judges here. And they were part of the cover-up from the very beginning. And listen, there's other judges. There's one judge that was specifically looking into the financial ties of Epstein with the big banks. And then her son and her husband had a mysterious man just show up at their door. Bah, bah. Now, again, could be coincidence. Who knows? But a lot of people believe that there are different signals, different messages, different warnings that are being given to these judges that are not acting on the better behalf of the general public. Now, clearly, this stuff is a very partisan issue here. And what has allowed the government to keep covering this up to the point of just public humiliation? Like, let's be real with ourselves here. Listen, like, interest or Google searches might have gone down, but this stain on this administration, sadly, is going to be here for the vast remainder of the time unless we get any kind of legitimate answers. And with the way that things are going, it's kind of like, oh yeah, we're just going to forget it. We're just going to keep moving on. Thomas Massey, who is going to be with some of the Epstein victims in front of the Capitol on September 3rd, now came out and says that he has released a bill that will be able to get rid of the Epstein files and bring, quote, justice, transparency, and closure to a lot of the victims. As now he will be pushing and propelling that issue as he retweeted a table of contents of all the time that law enforcement failed from 1996 to 2005. As again, the reports came in all the way back until 1996, and they didn't do anything. Virginia Giuffre said Epstein Maxwell, quote, effectively said, own the police. And the police, especially where they were at, or pretty much paid him off for. I mean, there was so much bribes, there was so much money moving, especially in the U.S. Virgin Islands that he had his island in. I mean, the level of just gifts that were being given, the plea agreement, the search warrant, all of this just signals to high heaven. There's one police officer here in Florida that no longer is with us that had to fight for this particular case here, as almost every step of the way there was egregious maneuvers meant to stall any type of court proceedings, even moving forward. Now, luckily, some of them did move forward, but we're talking about deals of a lifetime. We're talking about so much insanity here from the highest levels of the federal government, police officers, and force and authority figures that have failed. I think that's an important story that needs more attention. If you agree, share this video. Thank you so much for supporting us on WeAreChange.shop. Thank you so much for being here, a part of this independent media broadcast. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys watching, and that's why I try to end now every single broadcast by saying, thank you, beautiful and amazing human beings. Stay tuned for more, all here exclusively on youtube.com/WeAreChange.